Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis on Sunblast. Sunblast was the Firestorm's disciple, but he disagreed with his teacher a lot. Those disagreements ended up in the battlefield where the Firestorm kicked Sunblast so hard that he flew off and landed onto the sun. The Firestorm thought he was the end of Sunblast, but he was wrong. This is the newest and latest Fire Legendary monster, and he is a fantastic monster with an incredible monster design. And he's also a team race monster, so a lot of players are going to have this monster at rank 1, rank 2, a lot of teams will have him at rank 3, and even rank 4. And he is definitely a force to be reckoned with. Though with that being said, let's take a look at his stats. His power is 3300, which is honestly very weak for a fire monster. Fire monsters tend to be attackers, but not Sunblast, he is a pure denier. So his life stat is 31667, and in the fire category, that's actually a pretty good fire stat. It's actually tied with the Inheritor. And then lastly, for his speed, 3509, this is an incredible speed in the fire category. Now that being said, in the fire category specifically, there are plenty of monsters that outspeed him. Bell Breath is currently the fastest monster with 3608. We have Warmaster Barbale, 3575. Injanica, Injanica has 3553, Metalisha 3542. Keep in mind, Metalisha can turn transfer. And we have Cellot, who has 3531, and Cellot can do possession. And then finally we have Sunblast, and the cool thing about Sunblast is he's one of the faster deniers. As you can see, all the monsters I mentioned, they're not really deniers with the exception of Cellot and I guess Barbale, but you really have to rank him up to utilize his team denial. So we have ourselves an extremely fast denier, fire denier, who's also a team race monster, so plenty of people are going to have Sunblast ranked up as opposed to Cellot, who most players probably don't even have that monster unlocked. So aside from all of that, let's take a look at his traits. He is hardened, meaning 20% less likelihood to get hit with negative effects, whether it be denial or torture effects. Also has a blind immunity. No, that's not right. It should be an ignition immunity and burning immunity. For some reason when you hover over it, it says blind. But it's immunity to ignition and burning, which are very common denials, not very common denials, very common torture effects from fire monsters. They can hit you with ignite, which drains 20% of your HP, or burning, which drains 15% of your HP. So it's really nice to have this fire monster that's immune to both of those and has hardened on top of that. And as for his relics, he can hold a trap relic and a staff relic, which are really great for a denial type monster. And we'll come back specifically to the staff relic. I think specifically the best thing that's going to work with this monster is the oblation trap, the one that drains enemy stamina after you hit them, after you deal damage to them. And then for trap, I'm probably going to say the oblation trap. So double oblation for this monster, and we'll see why. I want to get into the skills because they are so worth talking about. So let's scroll down, and his ultimate is the greatest fire show in the universe. Applies fire weakness to all enemies, applies sunburn to all enemies, deals very heavy fire damage to all enemies, removes 100% of stamina from all enemies. Oh my gosh, that is a mouthful. This skill does a lot. Even though this monster isn't an attacker, it's very nice to see that he applies the fire weakness before dealing the fire damage. So you can think of that 60 really as a 90 fire-based AoE, or a 90 damage-based AoE because the enemy is now going to be weak to fire attacks. That's nice, but it doesn't really matter. This monster's not going to have any strength runes, you're not really going to benefit from the damage output. So it's nice to deal some damage. What's really great about this is 1, the sunburn, minus 15% HP for 3 turns, minus 15% accuracy, and 2, the stamina drain. The enemy monster lose all of their stamina. So they have some stamina regen relic, which is completely common in Monster Legends nowadays. Fortunately, you have that sunburn taking away at their life and also reducing their accuracy, so maybe they won't hit you. And there's really not much more to say other than this ultimate is a really good ultimate. Let's see what he has in skills group 1. Nova Fist, it's just a daze or fire weakness. It could be either or, it doesn't really matter. Not worth running. Solar Strikes, 50% chance of applying sunburn. Okay, Fists of Fiery Fury, applies stamina leak. So as you can see, he has a stamina drain and minus accuracy theme going on. Let's jump over to skills group 2. Majestic Magma Bomb. Single enemy, applies guard down to one enemy, applies fire weakness to one enemy, applies fire damage. Once again, applying the fire weakness before the fire damage. It also applies guard down, and basically when an enemy monster has guard down, all their attacks always land guaranteed 100%. And oddly enough, this is daze right here, which I do think this monster does daze. So we'll just go on, because you don't even need to really run anything in skills group 2. It's pretty much going to be your preference. Let's see the next one. Dazzling Show. Activates all cooldowns on one enemy, applies sunburn to one enemy. This is very nice. Cooldown activated and sunburn. Cooldown activated, if you don't know, this activates a cooldown on the enemy monster. So for example, if someone was to hit me with cooldown activated, I would have to wait 2 turns before being able to use this skill. It's a really great form of denial, especially when the enemy monster is immune to stun, to freeze, to possession. Like especially if you know that monster only has high cooldown skills, like when you face a Samael on defense. If you hit a Samael, if you hit a Ruby with a cooldown activated skill, they're pretty much going to be shut down for a while. Anyhow, moving on, we have Block Out the Sun. Deals moderate special damage to an enemy, removes 50% of stamina from one enemy, applies possession to an enemy, requires cooldown. Very nice. This will drain 50% of stamina and possess the enemy monster for 1 turn. This has a 3 turn cooldown of 40 damage, 27 stamina cost. Between these 3 skills, I personally like the possession and the cooldown activated. You can do without the guard down, and you'll see why when we talk about skills group 3. Alright, so we can kind of think of skills group 3 as the AoE version of all of skills group 2. True Power of Pyrotechnics. Applies guard down to enemies, applies fire weakness to enemies, deals moderate fire damage to enemies, requires cooldown. 40 fire based damage, 40 stamina cost, 2 turn cooldown, all the enemy monsters get guard down, so all of your other denial and other skills will land from your allies too, and you daze. I do believe it's a daze and not a fire weakness. So guard down and daze, that's crazy because you're reducing the enemy accuracy by 25%. And even if it turned out not to be daze and it was the fire weakness, well, that kind of makes the skill worse, but really what you like about this skill is the guard down. And again, I do believe it is guard down daze, which is amazing. And then Stop Its Fire Time. Activates all cooldowns on all enemies, applies Sunburn to all enemies. Wow, talk about a deny skill this powerful. Not only do you cooldown activated, on top of that, you torture effect. Most monsters only have denial. Most monsters only have applies AoE possession, applies AoE freeze, applies AoE stun, applies cooldown activated. This monster takes it a step further and applies a torture effect, but not just any torture effect, one of the best torture effects in the game, Sunburn, because not a lot of monsters are immune to Sunburn. Sunburn takes away 15% of HP, it lasts for 3 turns, and it also is a reduction of accuracy because it also reduces accuracy by 15%. How cool is this skill? It is so powerful. I like Stop Its Fire Time a lot. It also has 0 damage, and when a monster has 0 damage, the accuracy is pretty much 100%. So if the enemy monster doesn't have Hardened or Bulwark or some trait that reduces the accuracy of effects landing, then it's always going to land. So Stop Its Fire Time, phenomenally good skill. It does cost 42 stamina and it does have a high 3 turn cooldown, but again, you're activating cooldowns on the enemy, so you're pretty much shutting them down. So great, fantastic skill, great denial, but that's not all, because he has another deny skill, Cover the World in Darkness. Keep in mind, I said skills group 3 is pretty much skills group 2, but AoE version. Deals moderate special damage to all enemies, removes 20% of stamina from all enemies, applies possession to all enemies, requires cooldown. What the heck is this monster? Not only can he cooldown activated and apply a torture effect, Sunburn, he can also AoE possession and drain stamina? What the heck? And then he can even AoE guard down, and then you can always single cooldown activated for the future or single possession if you need to. Insane. This monster is absolutely insane. One of the most powerful monsters I've seen. One of the most powerful fire monsters by far. Like Salot is good, but I personally prefer Salot because he has this variability, right? Do you need a possess? Then possess. Do you need a cooldown activated? Then do cooldown activated. Because maybe you find yourself in a scenario where the enemy monsters are immune to possession. That's not a problem for you. You activate cooldowns. Oh, you know the enemy monsters have 0 cooldown skills? Not a problem. Possess them. But what I like about this possession is you also drain stamina. Specifically, you drain 20% stamina. So most monsters have, well, all legendary monsters have 140 stamina to begin with. If you drain 20% of their stamina, that's 28 stamina points. Meaning you're going to leave them with 112 stamina, and you're also going to leave them possessed. So, because this is an AoE skill that does actually deal damage, what you can do, in my personal opinion, is use the Oblation Salve. When hitting, removes 24 points of stamina from targets. And the cool thing is, you don't even need to have it maxed to 35. In fact, it wouldn't benefit you to have it maxed to 35. Because if the enemy monster is left with 112 stamina, and you remove 108 stamina points, the enemy monster is going to have to recharge. So the cool thing about Sunblast is that maybe you can get away with like a level 20 Oblation Staff. So if the enemy monster has 112 stamina points left, and you remove 64 stamina points, that leaves the enemy with 36 stamina points. 36 stamina points is enough for most enemy monsters to do some sort of AoE against themselves, or some sort of single based attack. Meaning, the enemy monster is going to use their last remaining stamina to attack their own teammates. So that's awesome. Essentially, you can do Cover the World in Darkness, drain their 20% stamina, leaving them with 112 points, and then having them, the Oblation Trap will kick in, drain some more stamina, and then have the enemy monsters use their last remaining stamina to attack themselves or their teams. How crazy is that? That's cool, and that's just abusing relics and this monster, his skill. And then if you need to, you can do the AoE cooldown activated to AoE deny everyone. And again, even if you don't have the Oblation Staff, that's cool, because on your next turn with Sunblast, you do cooldowns activated, and then with the Sunburn and everything landing, they're pretty much dead. So it goes without saying, run all of skills group 3, and for your final skill, it can honestly be the cooldown activated, or it can be the possession. Like, you can't really go wrong with either. You really can't. True power of pyrotechnics, again, I love for the guard down and the daze. I also don't really see myself using this skill, just because I'm going to be using this most of the time. So maybe if you want variability, you can just run these two skills. Basically the single possession, single cooldown activated, and the AoE versions. But again, like, you can change skills for free now, so it doesn't really matter. You can change skills just to suit you, whatever works best for that battle. I think it goes without saying, this is a 3-speed monster. Give them your absolute best speed runes on this monster. The point with Sunblast is to go first and to immobilize, to possess, or to do cooldowns activated, although most of the times you're probably going to want to possess. As for the trap, I think you should probably just run the Oblation Trap. Considering this monster already has a lot of stamina removal, it's really only going to benefit you to remove even more stamina in case the enemy monster did reduce your HP below 50%. So that's when Oblation Trap would kick in, remove even more stamina from the enemy. Pretty much the enemy is always going to be low on stamina. Like, seriously, even like, for example, even if you do cover the world in darkness and they end up recharging and then you cooldown activated and they recharge, you could always block out the sun and drain 50% of their stamina and repossess them. Like, incredible monster. I really hope all of you were able to get this monster. Whether he's unranked or a high rank, he's just a phenomenal fire monster to have in your arsenal. So that is pretty much my analysis on Sunblast. Now I want to hear from all of you guys. Although I pretty much feel like it's going to be a lot of love for this monster. Unlike previous Team Race monsters where they haven't been the most loved, I think it's really hard to hate Sunblast. But regardless, I want to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments below. So please comment, give me your thoughts on Sunblast, and with that being said, I will see you all next time.